Is your website a place that is going to further the conversation, or is it going to shut the conversation down? The only real estate you have control over is your website. The best designed websites, the best clear messaging is focused on the customer, not on how brilliant you are as a company.
The power of a website in any business is
depending on the kind of client that you are, the type
Okay.
of industry that you're in, right?
All right.
There's multiple answers to the question. So based on the type of industry, the client I was just working with really needs a credibility website, is what I would call it. They're not high advertising people. They're not going to be driving a bunch of traffic to it. They need to know that when somebody is sent to their website, they're going to be seen as incredibly credible.
Yeah.
So we're developing a website that really is establishing authority for who they are within the realm of service that they offer. So that's one style of website. If you sell online, then the need for a really well-designed website that meets customer needs and is easy to use and easy to navigate, that goes without saying, because how many times have you gone to buy something online and you just get fed up with the process and you're like, I'm out of here. I'll go buy it somewhere else, right? Especially if you're, competing with the giants.
That happened to me this morning.
Yeah.
I actually found a very unique tool that fit a need that I've been hitting the wall against for probably 2 months, trying to figure out how to solve this one specific problem. So I went out to look and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the tool. This is what I'm looking for. This will solve a huge hole I have in our overall strategy of certain things.
And you couldn't buy it?
I tried. It was only $90.
And
it's not like it was expensive.
Oh, I hate when that
And I
happens.
tried several things and it wouldn't let me purchase it. It kind of like would lead me halfway through the thing and then I ran into a process. And there's this whole idea of, in an overall marketing campaign or overall marketing thought process in a business, we're getting into a place where spending is low, debt is expensive, it's not as easy. This is the time to start tuning things up and repaying attention. So we're going to walk through these 10 attributes, these 10 questions to ask. So let's walk through these. The first thing is clear messaging. Talk to me about the importance of clear messaging and how can that get messed up?
Clear messaging to me is when I come to the homepage of a website, I know exactly what it is that these people do and what problem it solves for me. The best designed websites, the best clear messaging is focused on the customer, not on how brilliant you are as a company. That first and foremost is, here's who you are as a customer. This is the problem you have because we've taken time to understand our customer. And this is how we solve that for you. Just as clear as can be. And then all of the backup material of that, testimonials and, the About Us page can be nice and can support and add credibility. But really upfront when I come, I know exactly what you do. I know the problem you're solving for me, and I know where to go next. That would be clear messaging.
If that isn't right, then what happens?
You get really high bounce rates. Like, here I am at the homepage. I don't know what to do. Bye.
I mean, it's people showing up, clicking in, looking, and leaving
leaving.
very quickly.
Yep.
They don't pay attention. They don't give you the time of day to actually explain what's going on because they can't at least understand if they're in the right place or not.
And some of that can be hard if you offer a lot of different things. It can be hard to figure out how to streamline and make your offering clear so that somebody knows what to do next. That's not always an easy thing. So I'm not saying this is a slam dunk.
No.
It requires a lot of thought and energy, especially if what you're offering is not just a widget.
If you're going to do it yourself, you need to really work on it and work hard on it. And what happens is companies evolve over time too.
Mm-hmm.
So what might have been tight messaging before isn't as tight as it needs to be now.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest failures that we see in websites is when a company is answering questions that their customer isn't actually asking because they haven't taken the time to understand the pain points, the customer, their ideal customer who they're going after. Yeah. Some of those things that actually coalesce and tighten your messaging because you have defined very, very clearly who are these people and what are they experiencing, and then you speak directly to them.
The best way to do this is to sit down and spend hours. This should take 6 or 8 hours to hammer out and to refine and make sure. But it's even better to really find somebody that can be an outside perspective, can give you an unbiased perspective on the market and on you, and just really be helpful am being honest. It's hard to read the label from inside the bottle.
It is.
And this
When you're a
is where
subject matter expert, it's hard to imagine people aren't asking the questions you want them to ask.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's like they don't know what they're supposed. They don't know what you know.
And it's really difficult to get away from the lingo.
Yeah.
Okay, next
definitely.
one is mobile optimization.
Oh.
What is mobile optimization?
So mobile optimization, Michael, is when the website is designed so that when you look at it on a tablet or let's start with a laptop, a computer screen, it displays well. When that website translates to a tablet, so a much smaller screen,
or a phone,
which gets even smaller. I was going there.
Okay.
Then it is designed in a way that is optimal for the platform that it's being viewed on.
Good.
So things stack differently. They reorient differently. I remember before mobile optimization was a thing, but phones started to be used. You'd be looking at a website, and then if you were looking at it on your phone, suddenly you had this menu that was like shrunk down and everything was teeny, tiny, tiny. You couldn't see anything. You couldn't read anything.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of work. A lot of companies have built in mobile optimization when it comes to, when I say companies, web development, content management systems. They have it built in, but then there's always better and more that you can do to actually create the website so that it's designed for the best viewing style that you expect people. And we've got like 60% of viewers, I think is the current stat, they never view websites on anything other than a tablet or a phone.
Yeah.
So,
which is why it's absolutely critical. We're just seeing more and more. Those numbers are even higher when it comes to e-commerce purchasing.
Yes. Yeah.
People are purchasing. We're all more and more purchasing on our phones.
Yeah.
And so optimizing for that is critical, because if it's not optimized, you're losing money.
Yeah.
And if you are looking for an example, look at Amazon on your desktop and then look at Amazon on your phone.
Yep.
And it looks completely different. It's completely organized different. Quite frankly, I think their mobile optimization sucks. But
you'll at least see an example of an attempt.
That's my opinion. It has room for improvement. Let's put it that way. Okay, security and maintenance. Let's talk about security and maintenance in today's world.
Yeah. So a couple of things. One is that if you're one of those companies that you built a website 5 years ago and you don't have somebody looking at it and checking the code and doing the under the hood stuff on a regular basis, odds are that your security could easily be compromised, right? So you take a sort of a really standard platform like WordPress, right? WordPress does anywhere from 6 to 12 updates every single year to their platform. And it is because bugs get in there. It is because hackers get in there, all those different kinds of things. So imagine you built a WordPress site 3-4 years ago and you haven't gone in or don't have anyone that goes in and applies patches and updates and checks all those things and makes sure that things are still on track. That's a problem, right? The other thing that we see is there are a variety of things, and we may come to this later on the checklist. I can't remember, is accessibility on the checklist later?
Let's talk about it for a moment right here.
Okay. So accessibility is the idea that there's a ton of lawsuits that came out starting, well, probably in the late teens, but definitely got a lot more prominent in 2020, 2021. It was called WCAG compliance. I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but it's for people who are disabled, especially visually impaired, even auditorily sometimes, to have a better experience on the website. And people were getting sued for not having accessibility options on the website. And accessibility is basically just a little widget that allows you to, for example, turn a color.
For anybody who doesn't know what widget is, it's just a little mini program.
Piece of code, yeah, that allows them to turn like a color site to a black and white site, or to increase the font size, or to increase the contrast. There's all these different things that this code is designed to help somebody who's visually impaired and has challenges kind of reading and seeing stuff, to make it a lot more adaptable for them.
If a company is required to do this and they don't, and one of these companies comes along to sue, how much is it costing? We're seeing this at least 3 to 5 times with different clients that we've had.
Yeah. So
not losing, but when it first started, they were attacking. And
most of the lawsuits were like, if you don't do this within 21 days, it'll be a $7,000 charge. It's been a thing in the industry, and it's really easy to solve. So making sure that you have an accessibility code on your website is just really important.
And usually it costs a little bit of money for subscription for that code.
Yeah, most of the time. There are some platforms that are starting to build it in as part of their package because it became such a big issue.
Right.
So that helps too.
And even what's still happening with security, one last comment, the whole issue of ransomware is still a thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing, and again, just knowing how important it is to have things like privacy policies.
Which leads us to the next point, which
point?
is legal protections and disclaimers.
There you go. So things like privacy policies.
That's beautiful.
Look at that. I just transitioned us. So there are just significant things that should be in your footer. There should be links to pages that have disclaimers, that have your privacy policies, that have, anything that has to do with, if you're an e-commerce site, your returns, refunds, and exchanges, like all of these different policy things that need to be there. So that you have the best functioning and most helpful website, as well as are legally compliant.
All of those pieces and parts, you can get in a lot of trouble. There's lawsuits that can happen. Let's talk about user experience. The user experience is the clear messaging when people get to your website is the words, but the user experience is where are buttons? Are they in the right place? Is the whole ability for me to move through your website, find what I need to find, when I want to find it. That whole navigation process, the top windows, it's not me hunting and pecking. It's not a mess.
When we look at navigation, we look at messaging, all of those things, we're like, could an 8th grader figure this out, right? Do I have to be a rocket scientist to navigate my way through your website? So it really is, do you have clear paths? And the navigation structure and the user interface is all a piece of that. So how is that structured?
Yeah. So the question is your navigation set up so that it's working hard for you, or is it leaking there too? Okay, next one. Search engine optimization. This is a huge subject that that's worth its own video, its own episode, but
it's such a big topic.
And it continually is changing. Google is continually trying to fight people who are trying to hack it, who are trying to leverage the system in ways that Google didn't intend so that they get attention to their website. And there's all these, it's always been a cat and mouse game since the beginning.
We've gone through these interesting seasons in website development, right? Where SEO I can remember back in like 2013 when we really started pounding content, because as it turned out, if you think about your website as a piece of real estate, every time you write a piece of content, especially if it's like a blog or, you're adding a video, but it's on a different page, you're essentially building out the size of the house. You're adding a room every single time you build out. So the more that you build out that content, especially if it's relevant and helpful, the more Google is going to find you and send people your way. So there was a very significant content craze. And then there hit a place where there's so much content out there that it's getting harder and harder to be distinguished just based on the volume of content. So everyone was like, we're just going to buy ads because ads are the only way to drive traffic to a website. And so that's happening. But there's also a swing back in a different direction to say, you know what? Google is still looking for helpful educational content that is well written, that is robust, right? So there are strategies that help drive SEO because SEO is really about being found organically. Like, are you going to get found when somebody searches the terms?
In search engines.
Like Google and Bing.
Which is still producing the most amount of search. And when you break that down, the thing you have to worry about here as a leader that you have to ask for is, do you have an SEO strategy? Can you find it written down anywhere?
Right.
Could somebody clearly tell it to you? And has it been being kept up with all the changes? Because it could be, again, you're bleeding money in your website and it's not working as hard as you need to. So you need to at least bring in somebody that can help you with that, give you a good audit on it, and understand where you are and tune it up.
Yep.
Okay, next one, call to actions. What do we mean by a call to action?
What do you want me to do next? What is the activity you wish me to take as a result of having hung out on your website?
In every sales training that I've ever been a part of, and every sales training that I've ever done, you always have to teach people to ask for the sale.
Yep.
You have to ask, do all the stuff, and then don't walk away if they don't say, hey, please, can I buy that? And just bring up the subject. You have to say, would you be interested in this? Would you like to purchase it? That is simply what a call to action is. what is the action that you need people to do on your website?
Right.
Is it to put the product in the cart and check out? Is the process that you want them to fill out a form and contact you so you can have a meeting and give them a quote?
Right.
Is it, do you want to book an appointment?
Right.
You have to have ask them what to, tell them the problem with your copy, make sure your messaging is clear, but it leads to this clear, here's what I would like you to do. And you have to tell them what you want to do.
Yeah. And even if it's download a piece of free content, it's the call to action is this is what I need for this person to do in order for their experience with my website to have been successful from my standpoint.
Absolutely.
This is how I need them to engage.
Okay. Next one, e-commerce considerations. It's a whole other subject. I just want to make sure we hit it really quick. If you have an e-commerce website, there's a whole other list of things you have to think about. Not only do we work with all these different types of businesses that you talked about, and e-commerce is one of the ones we specialize in, and we have multiple e-commerce clients. That is a whole series of things you've got to pay attention to when it comes to all the different dynamics, because the buying process, the customer journey is different and the technology is different from there. I don't know if there's anything else to say. Is there anything you want to add to that?
I'm sorry if you have an e-commerce website, but you get 10 questions plus the added.
It's really valuable. All of these things are important to it.
Yep.
And then you have to go ask the questions of your web programmer or your staff or whoever. What are we doing to make sure that we're continuing to keep our e-commerce site up to date with securities, maintenance, copy, and all these questions on it?
Well, and if you're a leader, if you're the CEO of a e-commerce company, go buy something from your company.
Yes.
Just go try and buy products and just see what it feels like for you.
That's an excellent idea. Okay, next one, reasonable expectations of costs. This whole thing is like, okay, I updated my website 10 years ago. It should cost me what it cost me then, or what I remember, what I think I remember it cost me then, or what should it cost me now? I'm used to DIY website stuff, and I started all this just a couple of years ago. I did it all myself. What should somebody be thinking about when it comes to brand new website development? What's kind of the price ranges that they need to be thinking about?
So we kind of look at it as a small, medium, and large, right? So we would say a small website, and there's always going to be a range,
right?
But a small website, so it's probably not e-commerce. It is more of a service or kind of a credibility kind of website. So maybe it's like 10 to 15 pages. So it's going to range somewhere from $5,000 to $10,000 is kind of the range that we typically put a small website in. So probably not less than 5, no matter what it is you're doing, just because of everything that it takes to build all of the things that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And up to about 10. So that's kind of your normal small website. The medium range, we go 10 to 25. Where, I mean, and that is obviously, that's a much larger range.
So there's a lot of variables that go into that. A lot of
variables. So, but it just gives you a sense, like if you're building a website that is a small e-commerce website, or it's a robust services website, you have multiple types of things that you're offering, multiple products, multiple ways of kind of moving through those. So there's a ton of data that goes into figuring out where you fall in that range.
Yeah.
But that's the range that we typically would quote a client is somewhere within that. And then there's the large websites, and those are going to be 25,000 and beyond. And again, those are when there's just like hundreds of products, or you need your website to do some things that are, you need it to sing and dance and julienne potatoes. Okay, well, if you need all of that, then it's going to cost a little bit more. So depending on what you need, how many interfaces you might have to other software, integrations to other programs that you're using, all of that kind of thing, that's where it starts to get more and more and more. So,
and what do you think a price of an audit would cost? If somebody actually went and got a professional audit where they said, I'm looking for somebody to help, if they came to us, they would be probably looking at somewhere between $500 and $1,000, wouldn't you say? I would imagine that would be fairly normal out there. Here's the caveat for everybody. Find a company that's reputable, that you trust. Everybody and their mother wants to do an audit. They will throw all kinds of things at you. And there are lots of companies that will just make stuff up. There's lots of good companies out there. We have lots of us out there that will do quality work. and can give you a honest perspective of kind of like, here are your risks. Here's your high risk, your medium risk, and your low risks.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think is hard a lot of times in the audit world is you'll get audits back, especially if someone's doing an SEO audit, where there's no prioritization. Like, so something is like, it failed this. And you go, okay, but how important is this? Like, and the juice isn't worth the squeeze to fix that. It's not that big of a deal. But if there's no prioritization of this is actually impactful versus this is just, it failed it, but nobody's ever going to care.
Right.
And there's a lot of range in that. So it's just important that you have somebody who isn't just trying to steal your other web company's business or something and giving an audit that's like, they suck, everything's bad. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's prioritization. So an honest SEO audit company is important, or an honest audit company in general.
Yeah. And that leads to our 10th point, which is really, you want to find a company that you can trust, people you trust, and a company that has a holistic perspective on the whole thing. Just looking at one aspect of the website, your health of your website, is not going to be as helpful as if you really look at the whole thing holistically, because they all work together.
They do.
And each one of these things, is not necessarily going to tank your website for the most part.
Right. And different types of websites have different priorities. So, yes. I mean, probably the simplest example would be if you're a photographer and you have great images on your website and it takes a half a second longer to load than my website, that might not matter. Because I might actually be there to look at your photographs, and those being robust is the thing that matters the most, regardless of the fact that it impacts your SEO a little bit,
right?
Or that score. So it really is understanding and prioritizing based on who you are, what actually is the most important thing in the industry that you're serving. So
here are the 10 things. One more time: clear messaging, mobile optimization, security and maintenance. We included accessibility in that. Legal protections and disclaimers, user experience, which is UX is the term that you might hear out there.
UX, UI.
Search engine optimization, SEO, call to action, e-commerce considerations. We will do that in another video. Reasonable expectations of cost, holistic model with people you trust. Those are 10 things that are going to be really important. As a leader, you can sit down and take this list, download this list from us, use it as your checklist, and use it as your base of conversation with whoever your web developers are, whoever your marketing people are, and just say, hey, whether it's somebody in your company that this was one of the gazillion things they're responsible for, or it's you, and you need to find somebody now where you go, I need to ask some questions, and I need to figure out what we need to do to make sure we're continuing up to date. Because the biggest analogy I can think of is a website is like cell phones and computers.
The operating system just stops working.
They age, yes, and they age, and you've got to keep up. And the fact is
your iPhone 6 may not work today.
It may not. So that's it. Those 10 topics, really clear, help you without having to become an expert in website work. We're giving you those tips and pieces so that you can talk from at least a list there and have some intelligent conversations.
Yeah. And if you download the list, just know that it's not just a list of here's the 10 things. It's the explanation of all those things too. So you'll have those for your reading pleasure.
There you go.
There you go.
Thanks for joining us today.